Hello everyone, and welcome to Fanfic Fridays. I asked a friend of mine, I will not mention their name, and I asked them if they could find me the best/worst fanfic that they possibly could. And they sent me a link, and I followed that link. And it's a short fanfic from what I can tell. It's only 1,700 words. Which is very short, really not even barely a chapter. But whenever I saw what it was about, I'll read the name and you guys can guess. You Can't See Me by Ugly Turnip. And the tags are comedy, random, and My Little Pony. Oh goodness, this is going to be some type of a ride. So the only chapter, and it seems to be a one-shot fic, the only chapter is called Hustle, Loyalty, and Respect, posted 9th November 2015. Without further ado, let's get started. Oh, it starts with an author's note. This is what happens when you do drugs, children. You write fanfics about John Cena. Don't do drugs. Well, that's a good thing to start with. So, Queen Chrysalis hovered victoriously over the hypnotized shining armor as she stared down at the ragged excuse for a princess on the other side of the throne room. Even though she wasn't able to officially marry Shining Armor, and even though Twilight and the real Princess Cadence had escaped her bridesmaids, she knew she had won. Success tasted almost as delicious as love. Almost. But not quite. Soon my changeling army will break through, she loudly proclaimed to the throng of ponies. First we take Canterlot, and then all of Equestria. No, came a powerful, elegant voice that Chrysalis knew and hated all too well. Her gaze shifted on Celestia, who wore a vicious glare. You won't! You may have made it impossible for Shining Armor to perform his spell, but now that you have so foolishly chosen to reveal your true self... She suddenly lurched forward, and a slightly surprised Chrysalis mirrored her movements. Their horns clashed and grinded against each other, neither bending to the other's force. Realizing that this was a futile effort, Celestia lurched back, spread her wings, and hovered in the air. I can protect my subjects from you, she shouted defiantly as she shot a brilliant yellow beam of pure energy at Chrysalis. The changeling queen gasped, but managed to counter the spell with her own. The two beams pushed against each other, producing a standstill until Chrysalis's gradually began to overpower Celestia's. The last thing Celestia saw was the green energy reaching out to touch her horn. She was blown back and knocked into the floor, her tiara producing a metal clang as it rolled away from her body. All was silent as the ponies slowly took it in that their ruler, their princess, had been defeated. Finally, the silence ended with multiple simultaneous gasps. Princess Celestia, Twilight gasped, rushing over to her master's side. The elements, Celestia mustered the strength to speak. You must get to them, and use that power to defeat the queen. You heard her, girls, Twilight explained. Let's go! With that, Twilight and her friends left the overcrowded throne room. Chrysalis wasn't bothered by them escaping. Soon the bubble would dissipate, and her armies would capture every living pony in Canterlot. But she saw one thing, one very insignificant thing that threw her off. Celestia's faint smile as she whispered something into Spike's ear. The dragon scribbled rapidly onto a piece of parchment and sent it away in a breath of fire. Chrysalis could only smirk at the pathetic sight in front of her. Your reinforcements will not help you, she boasted as she trotted up to the ruined princess. My army is far too vast to defeat with just a handful of royal guards. Celestia tilted her head to stare into Queen Chrysalis's eyes. I'm not calling for my royal guards. I'm calling for an old friend.
And his name is John Cena!
An inexplicable announcer bellowed as a window suddenly shattered into shards of glass, courtesy of a large figure flying in. Horns blared as a muscular man stood triumphantly in the room. Ponies cheered at the sight of their new hero, who was dressed in a simple green t-shirt with the phrase, "You can't see me," in big blocky letters, jean shorts, and a rather stylish cap. Who are you? Chrysalis exclaimed angrily. How did you get through the bubble before my subjects? John Cena glanced up and made eye contact with her. "My name is John Cena!" he roared over the sound of blaring horns and cheering ponies. "I've been summoned to defeat you!" The cheering died down, but the horns would not cease in their blaring, for they were the very sounds of John Cena's glory, and no other being had the power to silence them. Nevertheless, Chrysalis was far too foolish to comprehend the awesomeness in front of her. She did not back down. In fact, she laughed harshly and maniacally at the new hero. "You are the best Celestia's got, a hairless ape! Get out of my way or I shall destroy you!" John Cena's smile turned into a frown at Chrysalis's mockery. He closed his eyes and found his inner peace. "Rise above the hate," he whispered to himself. He opened his eyes, which were now blazing with the fury of 1,000 suns, and charged at Chrysalis. "Death it is, then," Chrysalis uttered darkly as she sought a powerful beam at John Cena. However, it simply bounced off of him and smashed into a wall. What Chrysalis hadn't counted on was Cena's baseball cap, which was enchanted with WWE awesomeness. "What?" Chrysalis gasped right before Cena's fist made contact with her face. "Cena, smash!" John Cena screamed, the force of his punch knocking Chrysalis back into the wall. She shook off the injury and opened her eyes just in time to see Cena about to body drop right on top of her. She screamed, but it was quickly muffled by John Cena's bulky muscles as he landed right on top of her. Chrysalis felt the wind being knocked out of her, and she struggled in vain to escape the wrestler's grasp. Even after he lifted her into the air and slammed her onto the floor, despite the newfound sense of disorientation washing over her body, Chrysalis managed to force herself up and away just before Cena could grab her. She tried to fly out a window, but ended up smashing against the wall. But Cena was not done yet. He ran through a crowd of ponies, trampling over any that got in his way, and leapt majestically into the air. He wrapped an arm around Chrysalis's neck, mercilessly threw her onto the ground, slid down the wall, and dove onto her, all in the span of 4 seconds. He did not hit her this time, but rather he flipped her over so that she was facing him. "You can't see me. My time is now," he sang in a perfect bass as he stood up. Chrysalis tried to flee, but Cena knew that she was too weak to escape. He casually walked over to one of the chairs that was occupied by a stallion. "May I please borrow this?" he asked, demonstrating that having good manners can be cool. "Oh, most certainly," the stallion managed to yell over the horns, which still relentlessly blasted the same tune over and over. As he stood up and trotted away, Cena grabbed the chair and slowly stepped back to Chrysalis, who was trying her hardest to get away from him. She glanced back at him, and her eyes widened as she noticed the chair. "No, please," she begged. However, almighty John Cena knew that she was evil, and that he had to beat the justice into her. He brought the chair down onto her back once, then twice, then a third time. With every second that went by, the burning pain in Chrysalis's back grew until she just couldn't stand it anymore. "Had enough yet?" He bent down and whispered into her ear. "Yes," Chrysalis exclaimed. I surrender." "Good," Cena smiled. "Let me show you the way out." "The what?" Chrysalis questioned right before John Cena grabbed her and flew out the window. How was he able to fly? Well, he was just that cool sometimes. "What are you going to do with me?" Chrysalis questioned as she tried with all of her strength to escape his clutches. Cena simply smiled and began to spin around in midair at the speed of sound. Chrysalis now only struggled to hold onto a lunch. "Hustle!" John Cena screamed, letting go of Chrysalis's back hooves. "No, don't!" "Loyalty!" he shouted as he threw her up against the shield. "Wait, respects!" Cena roared as he perfectly flung both of his fists at her. The resulting punch was enough to break the bubble, sending both Chrysalis and her army flying away. "No!" He heard her screams until she was no more than a faint dot on the horizon. Another day saved, Cena smiled to himself before floating back to the castle. He touched down softly as the horns finally shut off, rendering the air perfectly still. John Cena walked over to the wounded princess and gently stroked her mane. "It is done, princess," he declared heroically. "Thank you, John Cena," Celestia uttered gratefully. "I knew we could count on you. Do you want to stick around for the real wedding?" John Cena stopped stroking and glanced towards the broken window. He was silent for a moment. "I'm sorry, Princess Celestia, but the universe needs a hero. I must be that hero." "But John Cena, you're so cool," came Spike's voice from nearby. John Cena turned to him and gave him a smile. Spike instantly felt better. "Here!" John Cena removed his cap and placed it on Spike's head. "Take it so that you may remember me." Spike took it off and gazed at its beauty. "Really? I'm not worthy!" Spike was half right. He was not worthy. However, no pony was truly worthy to wear an artifact of Cena. Cena walked back to the window and stretched his biceps. "I must go now, every pony. Remember to always rise above the hate." "We will, John Cena!" The crowd spoke in a creepy unison. The horns blared in all of their might as John Cena lofted into the air and soared away, leaving the kingdom he saved behind. Princess Celestial herself gazed at John Cena until he vanished along the horizon. "Thank you, John Cena. We shall never forget you," Celestia muttered as a tear rolled down her cheek. Oh my goodness. I've read many fanfics in my day. I've even read a few that were My Little Pony fanfics because, you know, I don't discriminate between fanfics, especially if they're good. But my goodness, that was by far, that's it. That is top 5 material right there. Like, this is in the top 5, which it's perfect. It's my hat, which I am actually wearing right now, goes off to this person, whoever wrote it. Ugly Turnip. Ugly Turnip, you're such a brilliant mind, and there's certainly something going on in there. It's just, so good. You know what? I'm going to just, oh goodness, that was my first time ever reading it, and I gotta say, it's good stuff. But anyways, that was You Can't See Me by Ugly Turnip. A My Little Pony fanfic crossover thing or whatever, and it was perfect. Anyways, thank you for tuning into Fanfiction Fridays. Please turn in next week for, who knows, it might be something even crazier than that. Anyways, everyone have a wonderful day. I love you all. Like it if you like, dislike if you don't, and you know, remember to subscribe if you liked it a lot. Thank you all, have a wonderful day.